Today is January 4th, 2018, and you're watching Hollywood News. First up, we want to talk about two movie trailers that are now available online. The first one is Death Wish, starring Bruce Willis. Now, this is a remake of a 1974 cult classic starring Charles Brosnan. Charles's character is an architect living in New York City, and his wife is murdered very violently. So he decides to take justice in his own hands. He gets guns and weapons and goes around the city killing muggers pretty indiscriminately. Now, in the new version, Bruce Willis is a surgeon. He loses his wife and his daughter's attacked in a very violent episode, so he decides to get justice. He's not as indiscriminate in his killing as maybe Charles Bronson is in the first one. There's not really violence for violence sake. However, that being said, he does go around the city and really just takes out the bad guys in very creative ways. Now, the tagline for the original was Judge, Jury, and Executioner, which really shows kind of just the intensity around the different killings that take place. In the new version with Bruce, we have how far is too far for justice. So right there we see that it might not be quite as gory as the first one, but we have to keep in mind that Eli Roth is directing the 2018 version. He is best known for his Hostel series, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of action scenes and plenty of blood spatter. The second trailer that's now available is Slender Man. This is a horror movie that releases in May, and it is based on the mythology of this character who is tall and slender and is able to tell people to do bad things. In the movie, there are four teenage girls who decide to prove that Slender Man is not real, and in doing so, they kind of conjure him up. One of the girls goes missing, and the rest of the film is all about kind of putting a cap on what they've unleashed. Now, this is a very controversial movie because there's actually real true life crime that has taken place in the name of Slender Man. A few years ago, there were some girls in Wisconsin who stabbed one of their classmates and they blamed Slender Man, saying that he told them to do it. And so that in itself makes this very difficult story to tell. The father of one of those teenage girls that has been convicted of the assault says this is popularizing a tragedy. Regardless of that, it is coming out in May. Doesn't seem to be anything real special about it, kind of a generic modern day boogeyman story, but we'll see how it does. Now, in the last of today's movie news, it has been announced that Bright, the Netflix original movie starring Will Smith, will be getting a sequel. Released at the end of 2017, Bright takes place in an alternate universe where there is all sorts of fantastical creatures living alongside humans. So you have orcs and fairies, and there's magic going on with wands. And in the film, you have Will Smith, who is a police officer, and he is partnered up with the first orcish cop in the department, and there is a lot of interplay between the different races, the different classes, and things like that. There's been a lot of talk about how it's kind of the dubious racial messages that are being brought forth in the movie. Overall, it was not received very well. There's pretty major plot holes. The villain is not scary at all and looks like it's taken directly out of an underworld movie. So all in all, it's kind of interesting that they would choose to jump right into number two, but Nelson is reporting that in 3 days, over 11 million people watched the film. So I guess they're just banking on that they'll do as well with number two. Now it's on to some television news, and while we're talking about ratings, there was just a report out about the most DVR'd show of 2017. And while you might guess it would be something like The Walking Dead, American Horror Story, This Is Us, it actually turned out to be a little known reality television show called Live PD. Now, this is a show that airs on Fridays and Saturdays on the A&E network. And it's interesting because they take kind of the premise behind Cops, where it's a live ride-along show. So you're in the car with police officers as, they go around kind of their night watch. There's been a couple of interesting things happening around this show, including some of the precincts pulling out of being a part of it just because the ways that it shows race relations between police officers in the community. Something serious that has gone on is there was actually filming going on in South Carolina when a 36-year-old man was shot and killed during a bad drug deal. And this was actually filmed for the TV show and shown on air, his body laying on the ground. And while they were showing this, his family was watching the show. And so they saw him, um, saw his body. And so this really raises some questions about reality television shows. How far is too far? But it looks like Live PD is here to stay. They're definitely renewing it. And it was the most DVR'd show of 2017. So now, getting away from the world of reality television show, we actually have some crime fiction in the third season of True Detective that is going to be launching in 2018. Season one, which starred Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, aired in 2014. Season two, with Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams, was in 2015. So it's been a couple of years since we've seen a new True Detective show. Now, season three is going to be starring Stephen Dorff, and it's going to take place in Arkansas during three different time periods. There had been a horrific crime, and it's really affecting the area, and so it's going to go through this unsolved mystery. So we're going to be able to see what happens. Now, something else that you're going to want to keep your eye out for is the mashup between two Shonda Rhimes television shows, How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal. Now, these Kerry Washington and Viola Davis shows are going to do a crossover. There's no date yet set for it, but it's probably going to be around March where you're going to see the two plots converge. The way that we found out about this was really cute. You had on Instagram, Kerry Washington gave a shout out to Viola Davis. And she says, "Does this spot look familiar? Where are you?" To which Viola Davis responds, "Hey, Kerry Washington, guess where I am?" Then you have Shauna Rhimes responding with her own Instagram post, "People, it's happening," with the hashtag "How to Get Away with Scandal." We do know that Carrie's Olivia Pope will have scenes directly with Viola's Annalise Keating. They will be starring in these shows together, and it's just going to make that circle complete before the final episode of Scandal is going to air. And finally, we want to talk about what is airing on TV tonight. We're going to be jumping into Project Runway All-Stars Season 6 tonight. Now, there is going to be 16 designers in the show, 8 that we've seen again and again. That's right, they've gotten all-stars who've been on regular Project Runway to come back. So you're going to see Joshua from Season 9, Fabio from Season 10, Ken from Season 12. Now they have all new all-stars, which they've gathered from previous seasons, including Merlane from Season 14, Amanda from Season 13, and my personal favorite, Kelly from Season 14. She's got kind of that odd 80s thing happening, but she always made it work. Not looking forward to this reality show? No worries. Comedy darling The Big Bang Theory has an all-new episode tonight. We are in the middle of Season 11. This is episode 12, titled The Matrimonial Metric, where Sheldon and Amy are planning their wedding. They're trying to decide. Their bridal party has become a little bit of a competition. So you definitely want to tune in and watching Shamey put together their wedding.